In previous section, when we prepared our formula based model where starting date was from the month end date, we had protected all the cells which had formula. So let me open the model. So this was our formula based simple model where we are starting calculating prepayment amortization from the month end dates. But here we had protected all the cells except column B and E, which were the input columns. So the protection was working fine in this scenario. But now we have changed the inputs in column C, which was not the case here, right? Column C was accepting which was the start date from the month end date from column A. But here the start date is now input, and if somebody accidentally inputs any other date or try to enter a wrong date here, our calculation will not be correct. Now we have to make sure that we protect this particular cell from the incorrect input. One way to do that is to use data validation. Now with data validation, we have to ensure that any date entered in this month in row 6, for example, it has to be date between 1st to 31st January. Similarly in row 7, where there is a February month, any start date of prepayment input should be from 1st to 20th February. Similarly from March, it should be 1st to 31st March. If user enters any other date by accident or by mistake, it shouldn't accept any input. So we go to data validation, and in allow we have to select date, and here we have to select date between. So we have to select date between 1st of this month till end of this month. So any date in between this we should allow as input. Now how to do that dynamically? So you have to write a formula for that. And what would be that formula? Let me show that formula here in this space here, for example, and then we'll copy that formula in our data validation. So I'll be using day function as we have used here to arrive the days of the month. So A6 is our 31st January. This is the date of 31st January 2017 minus day of same date. So what are the day for this particular date? 31 days plus 1. I press enter. Sorry, I have to close the parenthesis here and press and remove this parenthesis and press enter. Now we got Jan 2017. I have to format this date display to exit date. I got 1st Jan 2017. Similarly, if we drag this formula down, we'll get 1st Feb, 1st March. Now let's see how this formula is working. So what is A6, as I mentioned before, is nothing but our date in column A. This is the month end date. So all these dates are month end dates respectively. So if I press F9 here, it is 42776 as a serial number. I press escape. From that we are minusing what? We are minusing 31, which is the day in this particular month. So if I remove this one for a moment, and if I press enter, which date I am getting? I am getting immediately previous month and date, which is 31st December 2016, and we are adding 1 to 8, so we get 1st of that particular month. So let's copy this function. We'll select C6, we go to data validation, we'll select date, and from the start date we should be this particular formula, and end date should be same month, which is month end date, right? Because this is the month end date already we have given, so we can use that particular input as a end date here in this data validation. I press OK. Now let's test this particular data validation. Suppose I enter 31st March 2017. I get this kind of validation pop-up, and it won't accept date unless you put date as you mentioned in the condition in data validation. So it has to be date between 1st to 31st January in this cell C6. Even if I press retry, it won't accept the date. Let's copy this down. Now you can modify the messages here. If I go back, and you can put input message here, which will pop up as an input helper comment, which I'll show in a moment. And error alert. can copy same comment, press OK. Now everywhere this should be a tip here which will help user to enter the exact date. So it says input only the date as in column A6. So if I copy this validation one more time, so everywhere whenever user tries to input in this column C, we'll have this kind of comment. So let's test this validation one more time. So if I go to September, I try to enter October date, I get this kind of error. Now we got our comment which put it data input error, input date only for the month as in column A. Retry, and it will not accept unless you put the correct date, which is for the month of September. So this is the way you can add one more protection to your input cells. Here also you can apply data validation to accept only numbers here. Here also you do same. You can apply data validation. So for example, here we already applied date. So if I enter a text here, it will not accept. It has to be any date between this particular month. Here also you can make sure that you apply data validation. So let's apply the same. So data validation. We want whole number, right? Because month cannot be in decimals. So between what? We can put months like maximum number of months our prepayment can last. So for example 65 years, and I press OK. Now if I go here and copy it down till row 65, so B65. Now we are ensuring that all the inputs are whole numbers. So if I put 3.5, it won't accept. Here also you can modify the message. It won't accept. But if I put 61, also it won't accept. But we are pretty sure that our prepayment will not be more than 60 months. So accordingly you can adjust your range. So you can put 100 also if you want to put it. Now you can apply similar kind of validation, data validation, in column E, where our prepayment amount is there, which is also a crucial column. So we'll go to data validation, and we have to select decimal here like this. You can put minimum number like this 0 and maximum number of your prepayment. So here amount can be anything. So I can put 0 because it cannot be minus. So maximum amount I will put is around suppose $50,000. I'm sure that my prepayment will not be more than this. If you have more prepayment that and want to use this particular schedule, you can apply more maximum limit as well here. So if I put OK, now if I press text here, it will not accept. If I put -25, it will not accept, right? It will accept any input, decimal, anything. So let's copy this down till row 65 or cell 65 I should say. And we are done. So we have now applied complete data validation. Now formula cells you don't have to bother because it already been protected with the sheet protection. Now one more thing you have to take care that since our model is flexible as far as fiscal years is concerned. So if you know that if you go here and if you change your fiscal year from Jan to any other fiscal starting month, suppose April, your model will not make sense here. Especially data validation is not like a real-time formula. It doesn't change or it doesn't show immediately errors, right? So for example, its starting month is April 17 here. Here we are showing January 17 as a start prepayment date, which is incorrect. So if I press F2 and try to enter here, it will not work. But it will not show error or message anything directly since we have changed this particular month here. So there is inherent limitation with the data validation. So it didn't show us any error here because we change our formula which is giving validation. So data validation is failing here. As you can see, it is still accepting the values. Why? Because we changed this particular dates here, right? We have changed the range and reference of the date. Data validation is mainly working as active control. It is not like a formula which will immediately change. So this is a limitation with data validation. So in this kind of situation, you have to ensure that you input all your dates again. So whenever user starts using with a different fiscal year, there was already input here. You have to make sure you have to remove this entire dates. Like you have to select this column from from C65 to row 65, delete and enter your dates again, which are the correct dates, and then the validation will work. This is how you can protect your sheet and formulas and also inputs in the model with the help of data validation. If you have any question regarding the same, please let me know in the Q&A section below. I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in my next lecture.